Greetings everyone, Ray Landis here with the grand finale adventure of the Tease ST1 SPR in Boomer Blue. And this was an exciting adventure that turned out so good that I, beyond my expectations, have been just so pleased with how the outcome of this thing. The original review that I did, I had a lot of thoughts that I shared, and there were some things I thought that were just a little bit under what I had expected. My expectation wasn't quite met, but in reality, my expectation has been exceeded with this guitar, and I'm going to explain why. The instrument itself, I bought it because my idea was to modify it and to learn something new that I didn't know from my previous experiences, with modding guitars. First of all, the price of this guitar was amazing. It was $179.99. I know sometimes they have sales and these can be purchased for a little less than that, but I think that's a tremendous price, and I think that the idea of this being a modding platform is probably the most focused idea I think that this guitar would have. Now, some guys have done some reviews on this model and have given it a lot of accolades, and I think it deserved those because it's a really good guitar. I explain it like this: it's got really good bones. I had some issues in the beginning with tuning stability, and I was able to kind of solve that and make it a little bit better by carving the nut a little bit differently and doing some adjustments, and I was able to get it fairly decent. And if you've watched my other video, you did see where I was able to get a loop going and play with it and everything. But I think in the big picture, it wasn't really what I wanted it to be, and I knew that from the beginning. So this video is going to show some of the disassembly and some of the reassembly, but the final product is a tremendous guitar that I've already promised this to someone, but it's going to be hard to give it away because it really turned out great. And you're going to notice the neck and the headstock doesn't look anything like it originally was. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and then I'm going to show you some of the things I did to it. Of course, I took the neck off. The body has been completely taken apart. There's shielding tape inside the body. I dropped a pick guard in there that I had previously put together and put new tuners on it, some new brass saddles. Starting at the headstock, I put Wilkinson EZ-Lok tuners on there, and these are in the black. You can see where it says Wilkinson there, and these tuners are kind of an unusual breed of locking tuner, not a true locking tuner, but they have two holes that go through at the post where you can pull it around and insert it again and have two kinks instead of one. I also put black string trees, and I took the nut and changed that out for a brass nut. And then at the bridge, I have a Geiger bridge, which is a really nice bridge with a push-in bar. And I took the saddles off. They were bent steel saddles in black, and I was able to take those off and replace those. And these saddles are called OVSAL. I don't know how they say it. It's OVSAL or OVSAL brass guitar bridge saddles that you can get from Amazon, and those worked out really, really nice. I kept the black screws and the black springs. The pickups that are in this are going to be Artec Giovanni noiseless single coil pickups, which I got from Guitar Madness. They were probably the most expensive upgrade. But I had those. I had this pick guard. It was previously put together for another project, and I didn't end up using it in that. It's got a full-size switch, full-size pots, and those pickups I think were originally around $54. I got them from eBay. The strap buttons, I changed those out for black ones to match all the other black hardware. I changed out the the neck plate for a black one. I had a black cover plate that I used to cover up the tremolo. Full-size block and springs. The tremolo did work, and it sounded pretty decent, but I opted to deck it because the tuning stability became perfect. And I'm not going to play it in this video, but I will come back with another video and play it and let you hear it. But these pickups are really quiet, they're really good, and they sound tremendous. The big project was the neck. If you know what the ST-1 SPR necks look like, they're like a really light colored maple neck. This neck, I learned a lot from this neck. If I had another opportunity to do a neck like this over again, I would have sanded it a lot more. It didn't necessarily have a true finish on it, but it was like it was hardened in some way. So I sanded it down. I tried to refinish it. I realized I didn't sand it enough, so I sanded it down again, and I sanded the living daylights out of this thing. And then finally came back and I stained it with some Minwax stain. And then I ended up noticing that there were still a few places where the stain didn't penetrate, but I kind of like that. And it's got a really nice rustic look to it. You can see right there where the curve is and where the contours are. It's got some really nice, just some really nice, I think as Ted from TED Talks Guitars and Life says, a really nice, how did he say it? A really nice blemish, or a really nice mistake or something like that. But it turned out really nice because I like the way it looks, and it's kind of rustic, and it makes the brass nut really good. The fretboard was, the final finish was linseed oil. And the back of the neck, the final finish was true oil, and the headstock the same way. So even though it's kind of rustic looking, I think it really does add a lot of dimension. And I didn't want to forget to mention too, I reshaped the headstock. After taking the logo off of it, I kind of took that little hook off of there and made it a little more rounded. And overall, it really turned out great. And this guitar sounds great. The features of the cutaways and the belly cut and all of those little things come together and make this a really super nice guitar. And again, in another video, I will play it. But I want to go through some of the things, some of the clips that I made while I was doing the work, and let you see some of those. So I hope you enjoy them. On the bench, I've got the Tease ST-1 SPR that I just did a recent review about, and I've started to lay out some of the parts that I want to use to upgrade this. I have a nice brushed aluminum pickguard preloaded. Actually, I preloaded it. It's got some really nice pickups in it. These are actually supposed to be noiseless pickups, and I wired it with full-size pots and a nice switch. And there is some cloth covered wire, but it's also got some wire in places, and I tried to continuously shield around the pickups, but this is ready to go to be put into this guitar. I understand underneath the pick guard on this unit, so should I say instrument, is a swimming pool route. And I'm going to take the bridge out, I'm going to take the pick guard off, all the components, I'm going to replace it with black. So we're going to put this black pick guard in with noiseless single coils. We're going to use Wilkinson, the quick lock tuners in black. And then I've got a Geiger. This is a full-size block. It's not brass, but it's a nice full-size block. These are bent steel saddles, and this is a push-in bar. I'm not going to use those saddles. I'm actually going to take those saddles and replace them with these brass saddles, and they are the same size. They just have a little different look to them. And I will probably do something with the screws, and that way I'll have just the saddles will be gold. And then I've got a couple nice string trees here. See if I can get a hold of them. These are the kind that are like similar to the see if I can focus on that. These are similar to the ones that are found on the Ultra, the Fender Stratocaster Ultra. So I'm going to replace those in black, and then I'm going to put a brass nut on there. And these string trees, I'm going to sand off the logo. I'm going to take off all of the writing there, the logo and the model. And then on the back of the neck, I'm going to take that serial number off of there, and I'm going to work on this neck. I'm going to try to make the neck kind of like it'll look like it might be roasted maple, and that neck plate is going to be replaced with that neck plate. So it'll be very generic looking. You won't have any logo or anything to identify it. And then we're going to try to get this all worked up, and again the neck is going to be more like a walnut. I'm going to see if I can get the fretboard sanded down. I'll change that with a little bit of a tinting to make it darker, and then I'm going to use boiled linseed oil on the fretboard, and then on the headstock and the back of the neck there's going to be gunstock oil, which would be like the true oil. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. We'll see how that turns out, and looking forward to getting this thing really dialed in. And there are the strap buttons in black, and there is the brass nut. And the only thing I'm still looking for, I know I have around here somewhere, is the black jack boat. I know I've got a couple of those. So we're going to put a black jack boat on there as well. Okay, so there are the other remaining parts that I didn't mention yet, and that is the black jack boat. They are black strap buttons, and I did mention the brass nut. Didn't show it, but that and that right there is going to give a little touch of gold, and of course we're going to end up with a little bit of silver because we've got silver screws on the pick guard. So we're going to see if we can get that all balanced. Maybe we'll use silver pick guard screws. Okay, so I took the neck and reshaped the headstock a little bit. So the headstock now has just a more contoured tip to it. It's not got that little point that it used to have. I've sanded down the headstock front and back, and I sanded down the entire back of the neck, and I sanded down the heel on both sides, and I realized, whoops, there's my tape. I realized that I didn't quite sand it enough in a few spots, because if you see some spots like that, you can tell there's still some gloss, some sort of a finish that is not very noticeable as a finish, but it makes it real smooth. And then you can see I've got the fretboard all taped up. I actually did some sanding on that. I used a 600 grit on the fretboard, and then I went to 1,000, and then I went to 1,500 against the grain and up against each fret, because I think I'm going to use boiled linseed oil on that, and that will be a way to keep the fretboard a little lighter than the neck. Now that neck does look pretty good like that, but I want to do some additional sanding to get these areas here a little more consistent. I may not have to sand off all of the stain that I've already got on it, but I do want to work it out so that it's a little more consistent. And the stain that I was using is called Dwill, D-W-I-L, and it comes in like a squeeze bottle with a top that pops open, and you can put it on with a rag, and you can see I've got the rag there. But I like the way that, I like the color, I like the way that it went on this part of the neck, but I want to do a little more work and try to get it to look more consistent in all the other areas. But I think that's going to be really good. And then as a finish coat, I'm going to use True Oil. So it's going to be, that'll be all shiny, but it'll be darker than it originally was. And then again on the fretboard, I'm going to use, which you can't see right now, I'm going to use boiled linseed oil, and I think that'll be a good combination. It'll keep me a little bit satin looking on the front of the fretboard, but the rest of the wood should be darker and have gloss. As far as the body, I've got that over here on my desk, and I'm going to be taking this pick guard off. See if I can kind of spin it around somehow to let you see underneath of it. There we go. So this has ceramic pickups, and it also has the dime-sized pots and the wafer type of a switch, little circuit board wafer switch. I don't care for those, so I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to take the bridge out and put a black color bridge in there. This is going to be the new pick guard that goes in it, and I've got that all wired up, ready to go. So I'm going to work on that today and get that all kind of buttoned up, ready to go for the neck. All right, so at this point I have got the shielding tape installed in the body cavity. I must say it's quite an easier job when you have the swimming pool route to be able to do that. And I did find out though that whatever I decide to do with the bridge or the pick guard, there's going to have to be new holes drilled. Like you can see how I've got those plugged with bamboo toothpicks, and I'm going to have to re-drill the bridge holes because the bridge is proprietary. It's some different measurement that's not typical for this type of a guitar. So I will be doing that here, and I will also be doing it, it's a little dusty on the bottom there, be doing it for the trem cover. I'm going to reuse this trem claw because of the spacing. The new trem claw has narrower holes, and it would have to have different holes drilled, but I like this claw. There's nothing wrong with it. I will use that again, but I will have to make new holes for the trem cover, and definitely everything in the front is going to need to be re-drilled, so it's okay. We'll get her done. All right, we are in the midst of a battle with this guitar neck from my Tease guitar, and as you see it laying here, it has been worked over several times, sanded and resanded, and still in a state where I'm not totally happy with it, but it will submit. Right now I've got a combination of different things that I've used. One of the things is this stain from Minwax. This is dark walnut, and it's an oil-based stain. I did try to use this originally, and it didn't work the way that I had hoped, but I'm sure I'll find a use for that. Here is the body, and the body is looking good. Everything's hooked up, ready to go. Just needs the neck and strings put on, and a setup. All right, we have gotten this thing assembled. The neck has submitted to its modification, and we now have Wilkinson EZ-Lok tuners on there. We have a little different setup for the string trees, and everything's black. We have a brass nut, and we can kind of hone in on the neck texture. I'll talk a little bit more about that, or maybe I already did, depending on how the video goes together. But I've got this thing all dialed in, except for the setup. It's just estimated. I estimated everything, and it sounds pretty good just like this, but of course I'm going to do a final setup, and then I'll play it a little bit. But it's got all the new hardware, new pickups. The neck has been completely redone. So a few final thoughts on this Tease ST1 SPR guitar as a modding platform. I think it's a great modding platform. I think it really has, like I said, good bones. The guitar itself is not bad as a stock instrument, but I think I've put an extra $100 into it with all the parts that I added. And for an extra $100, I have a guitar I think that would cost, twice that. The cost of the original instrument plus the upgrades would cost twice that to get all these features and play as well as this. So if you've been encouraged and this has been inspiring to you in some way, I'm going to ask that you would like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone. And I will see you next time for the next guitar adventure. And I'll be back to play it later.